I'm Camry Gibson. Welcome to the Camry Gibson Show, the podcast. I believe that one of the most precious gifts you can share with someone is your story. Pain has purpose and stories can change lives. Your journey to become more inspired and transformed by the lives of those around us starts now. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the Camry Gibson Show, where we talk about transforming our pain into power. And today I have a special, beautiful, really talented guest with me here today. And her name is Miss Hadeez. Miss Hadeez, would you mind introducing yourself to the audience for me, please?
Hi everyone, my name is Hadeez. I am originally from South Africa and I am currently in the US pursuing an industry relates to music marketing.
And could you just give the audience some context on like how we met, and I can help with, just being on set of the Charles Wright Do Your Thing music video through Dr. Dixon. Yeah, just talk about that.
Yes. So interesting, quick story. So Dr. Dixon came to my school and he was a guest speaker for my talent management class. And this class was completely unrelated to my degree because, I took a double concentration MBA with a focus on business analytics and marketing. But I realized that I wanted to be in the music industry. So I told my school that I needed to take this class because it was aligned with my career. And Dr. Dixon was a guest speaker and he really just stood out to me. His character, just his energy, how he controlled the floor. And after his speech, I walked up to him and I asked him if he could be a mentor of mine. And he said yes. And I told him that I came from South Africa, and the struggles of, where I've come from to kind of being a woman, especially in this type of industry and trying to be successful. So in doing that, he had invited me to this music video, and he didn't tell me who it was. He was just like, "Hey, I need some help. Can you be like an assist, like an AD?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course. Let's get it. Let's go." So that's how I met the lovely Camry there, and we were the youngest people on set. So I was like, okay, I'm obviously going to gravitate towards this other female, and I got to speaking to her, and it was just really vibes like the whole time. And one thing I do want to point out is your work ethic. It's very, very clear, and it's very dope to see. When I ask you what you want to do, you're like, this is what I want to do. Like, you're very about it. Like, this is everything that I'm trying to do. So I like seeing women that are unapologetically themselves. So kudos to you. So we get on set and we are on set for a music video for Charles Wright. And Charles Wright is a legend, y'all. Like, if you've heard the song Express Yourself, which everyone in the world has literally heard, right? I grew up listening to that song. So it was such a crazy moment being on set for someone that I listened to with my grandparents, right? So it was a kind of a pivotal moment for me. So I'm like, damn, this is crazy. This is really dope. What are the odds? And so I was on set. We were on set for quite a while. And after that, you and I obviously kept in touch. And I had spoken to one of Charles Wright's assistants, but I didn't know that that was an assistant of his. And I really just got a call randomly from Charles Wright saying that he needed someone on his team to help him with marketing. So at that time, it was just his daughter, his assistant, and his tech guy, and it was myself. And I gave them a complete rundown of everything that was going on and his representation and his branding and how that wasn't really aligning with who he was. And from there, I set up I set up a whole team for him, with A&R to a digital marketing person. And so right now we are working diligently we have dropped 2 of his new songs, so we're behind that. Your Hand, and doing it on the flow, from the music video to the creative strategy to the content creation to the SEO to the YouTube, Spotify ads, and that type of thing. And right now we are looking to expand his presence on a more national level so that he can get interviews on TV and so forth. and to leave his legacy. So, yeah.
Congratulations, girl. I like that a
Thank
lot.
you.
And thank you. I definitely could say the same thing about you. Just very, very like I feel like sure of yourself, but also still like attentive and like just like I don't know, just like another superwoman, you know? But
Thank you.
definitely for sure. It's like she's different, she's unique, you know? I like that about her. And she's just
Thank
like she does her own thing, you know? And yeah, I like that. So it's really cool to hear that you're doing that and you're carrying that out on now still today. Can you talk more about South Africa and what it's like? I believe the singer Tyla, who sings the Water song, I think she's from South
Yes, she is
Africa.
from South Africa. Yeah.
Go ahead and talk about that
Um, South Africa is South Africa is very Americanized. I don't think people realize that. America really sets the tone for like everything that South African, well, let's say newer generation South Africans want to be about, from the music to the way that we dress, the way that we talk. So even the foods, the style of restaurants, how what the clubs are like, they're very, very Americanized. But other than that, coming from South Africa in all its glory and its beauty, there is a very deep racial history in South Africa. Um, as much as people don't like to admit or even call it slavery, we went through the apartheid and it ended in 1994 with Nelson Mandela coming into presidency. And technically, that's when slavery was abolished for us, which wasn't a very, very long time ago. And at that time, prior to 1994, people of color, predominantly Black people of South Africa, weren't allowed to walk the streets at night after a certain time without having a pass, like a book, to say that they have the right to be roaming the streets at certain times. There were different buses for people of different color, different water fountains, different schools. So up until that point, it was very difficult. And my mother, being white, and my father being a person of color, they couldn't be in South Africa. So they went to Mozambique, where my dad is originally from. And that's where I grew up for a while, up until I was like 6 years old. And then, after 1996, after that time, we had moved back to South Africa, where it had calmed down a lot. So yeah, I mean, I had a little bit of a rough childhood. Grew up in a very dangerous hood, if you will, a very violent hood that was, ridden by drugs and prostitution and violence, gang violence. Especially, there's a lot of gang violence in South Africa, and yeah, just going around that type of environment made me, one, angry, got me affiliated with the wrong type of crowd, to find a sense of community, because my mother wasn't around. Her and my father had, they had broken up. My dad had gone back to Mozambique. So essentially it was just us. And my grandmother was there and my grandfather was dying. So I was in a really, really, really tough situation. And when I was 9 years old, I was gang raped. And that was a very, very difficult time for me, where I had just become very angry with the world, like, fuck everything. You know what I'm saying? I even dropped my religion. I said, I don't even want to be a Christian no more. Like, well, what is this doing for me? I was very, very angry. And the only thing that I held true to myself at that time was getting out of the situation that I was in. I did become gang affiliated, I'm not afraid to say, for that sense of community. And it was very, very dangerous, and it very scarring. But like I said, the only thing that I held true to myself was the fact that I wanted to come to America and live a better life. And anyways, my dad came back into my life. He had made some money. He took me to a white school, went to a private white school, boarding school, coming from the hood, and what I was going through too. That was a very big culture shock for me. But my dad listened to what I wanted to do. And he knew that if I stayed in the environment that I was in, living with my mother, I probably wouldn't be alive right now. So he really, even though it wasn't really around, he pushed me to live a different life. And from that time, from when I was 9 years old up until 19, like my dream was to be in the US, and my dream was to be in music videos, and my dream was to be in the music industry one way or another. I think I thought I was going to be a part of ASAP Mob. I was really in love with ASAP Rocky. I thought he was so cool, and I think I'm going to be a rapper or something. So yeah, anyways, and when I was in high school, I had gotten into, I was still going to my white private school, but still affiliated with the wrong people because I like that power. I like being dangerous, if you will. I got into a lot of trouble, and I had to leave the country to escape that trouble. And my dad took me to Europe for 2 years as, I guess, a type of rehabilitation and rebirth, I guess. And I applied to schools, got into really, really good schools, got into NYU, got into Babson College, got into Berkeley, and I chose the worst college of them all because I wanted to be in Miami because I loved bad boys, and I thought that's what my life was going to be like. So I went into Miami and I got my undergraduate degree. And then I said, hey, I'm tired of this place. The next thing for me is LA. And I really look back on my life being as wild as I was to now a married woman, very calm woman. But yeah, went through a lot, and I don't regret anything because I don't think I'd have this same grit, the same determination, this relentless anger towards I have a point to prove if it wasn't for the things that I have been through. So
I was gonna say, what do you think innately on the inside? You're good.
huh?
Go ahead. You're good. You're good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say, what do you think innately on the inside changed for you not to be as angry outwardly, maybe?
I think I did a lot of therapy, and that didn't really help me, to be honest with you. The traditional therapy. I also think not having a Black therapist was, I just felt like I couldn't connect to someone that couldn't kind of relate to my life, right? So it's like, okay, you're getting paid for this, but do you get me? So I think I was just like, okay, cool. I tried everything under the sun, to yoga, to affirmations, to healings like shamans and everything possible. And I think eventually it just came down to confronting myself. Because when you go through a childhood or a life that's very violent, you're very angry at yourself for what you've done and for what you have experienced. So my healing process was a lot of like screaming at myself in the mirror, like, I hate you, like really going like on this whole like insanity route, and breaking down and crying and just asking for forgiveness. So I did say previously that I had lost touch with my religion, and then I came back to God, and I came back to my spirituality, and just became very humble and just like, help me, please, like, give me a sign, like, help me get through this, like, what can I do? And that type of thing, as well as just writing down how I feel, or recognizing certain triggers, because I was very, very depressed up until I was around 22, like suicidal depression. And I think that came from all that anger and the pain that I was dealing with. So I was always trying to kill myself. I was always trying to find a way out any way possible, because I didn't want to be here, or I felt like I didn't deserve to be here. And I was in America and I was still depressed. I had achieved my dream, but I was still depressed because there were things that physically I could run away from, but not mentally. Right. So I just did everything possible that I could. I wasn't able to sleep. I had severe insomnia, and I started doing yoga, and I was able to fall asleep without pills. And I told myself that I don't want to be on antidepressants anymore because it's messing with my head. And I talked myself out of that, and I listened to a lot of like YouTube videos about manifestation and about healing, and recognized my triggers, that when I got into certain situations, how to deal with those and how to be more conscious of those. And a book that changed my life for real is called The Power of Habit. And it teaches you to recognize your triggers so that there's a trigger, there's a cue, and there's an action, from everything. Like if you're slitting your wrists or even biting your nails, right? Something triggers you to do that. The action is the action of it. And you get a certain type of feeling from that. You feel good or whatever the case may be. So I stopped being angry because I started picking up on what would make me angry and what roots that tied to. And honestly, I never thought I would never not be depressed, but girl, I wake up every day and I'm just grateful to be alive. So honestly, if I can do that, anyone can. Really. Really.
I'm like, I need to take a break. But yeah. Yeah, girl. Well, kudos to you. Congratulations for
Thank you.
getting to this feeling. For you to say all that. That's something to be celebrated, for sure. Definitely. Because that depression thing, I feel like our generation, we're so like much more open than like the previous generations. Did you struggle like with your family or friends when you were going through these type of like mental challenges?
Absolutely. So my dad doesn't believe in depression. He's like, just be happy. Literally, I told him, I'm like, Papa, I'm depressed, like I want to kill myself. And he was like, are you insane? He's like, you are in a different country. You not on the side of the street begging for food. How are you depressed? How are you depressed? What is this? He's like, that's a white people disease. What is this that you're going through? He's like, your life wasn't as hard as mine. And my dad's life was very, very difficult as well, growing up in extreme poverty. So he didn't get it. And he didn't understand why I needed to be on these poles. And he didn't understand why he thought I was ungrateful. And then my mother, who is white, was kind of like understanding, because like there's a lot of shit that can slide with white parents, right? Like it's like, okay, cool, yeah, she's sad, she doesn't want to go to school. Okay, cool. If I'm with my dad, he's like, what the hell? Get your ass up and go to school. Like, sad about what? And it was kind of just like my mom was also very triggering growing up. So she was like she would just say very triggering things like, oh my God, like, why don't you just kill yourself then? Like, you're doing all this shit for attention. Whereas my dad just completely thought it was like a hoax. Like, he didn't believe it was a thing until I literally, I took 109 sleeping pills and I went to the ICU and I flatlined for a couple of minutes. I literally died for a couple of minutes. And it was only after that my dad recognized that, oh shit, this is a real thing. Like, she's actually not okay. Like, she actually went to the lengths of doing this. And from that point on, like, I had never seen my dad like really like have emotions. Like, he was very like cold. Like, he was funny and stuff like that, but when it came to like other things, he was very cold. So he had, from that point, like seeing me in the hospital bed, he changed like drastically, like 360, a way I never thought it was possible. Because there's that saying, like a leprechaun changes spots, people don't change. And that's really bullshit, because if you want to change, you will. And after that point, my dad, like every birthday was there, because before he just didn't care. Like he'd be there or not be there, he'd be very absent. And after that, every important moment, he's there. And mind you, my dad lives in different countries, so he'd make the effort to be there, or make the effort to call or to check up. And he didn't only do that with me, but all his kids, because I have 7 siblings. So for him, it changed. With my mom, she didn't really get it, but then she ended up becoming depressed herself. So then, like, it became a point of her recognizing, like, oh, I'm so sorry that I was so insensitive, and the things that I said to you that I just didn't understand how they impacted you. So, I mean, yeah, that with my parents, it was really, really difficult. And then with my friends in South Africa, we had like a very big, like, depression culture, um, especially during like our teenage years in high school. I literally have 3 of my closest friends that committed suicide. And it like almost became like a trend at some point, which was really sad. And it was around that time of like Tumblr, where like there was so many, like, it was like glamorizing depression and self-harm and like drug abuse, that people were like wanting to do drugs to like relate to the weekend, or to be like a Tumblr sad story, that people got so wrapped up in that they ended up killing themselves. Not to say that they didn't have problems at home, which everyone did, and a lot of my friends did, but a lot of the things that were problematic was because of the choices that they had made, right? I mean, my one friend was abused for sure, so I understand what that can feel like. But the decisions that she made to deal with that, I believe, were cataclysmic and led to her hanging herself. So with that around, like, all my friends were depressed. All my friends were like substance abusing. So it was very hard to escape that mentality when the people I would confide in were going through the same shit as me. Um, so yeah, all in all, it was really difficult.
Can you give me like 1 minute? I'm gonna move, okay?
Okay,
I'm
okay,
able to hear you better. I'll be right
okay,
back.
no problem.
Better. All right, girl. I was like, I cannot. But Lord. Okay. No, for real, Hades. Like, you got me just thinking about everything differently, just with the platform and just what it means to really transform pain into power.
This is a powerful platform. Like, for a very long time, I wanted to do a platform that was similar to this. From around 2015, I wanted to create a platform called the Self Say Project, where people that were raped, that were abused, or narcotic abuse, or toxic relationships would come on, and it's almost like an interview, of them talking about what they went through and like their healing techniques. But it's just like a lot of people just didn't want to talk about that on camera. You know what I'm saying? And it was hard to kind of find people who would be open to do that. And to have a face to the person, it's way more powerful. You know what I'm saying? They're like, oh, can you blow my face out? Can you, like, and it was just kind of hard to find that. But I hope that one day that I have like a proper budget to get to have something real, to give back. So I appreciate this platform, and I think you're really doing a big thing with it. So
Thank you,
congratulations.
thank you, girl. Of course. And there's so many girls I can think of who, yeah, they're they're not they're not there to share their story. They're just
Yeah.
not gonna do it. So that's what makes you so special, and this interview so special even more. What was it like? What were you involved in, like growing up, as it related to music, or were you into sports? How were you maintaining it throughout childhood?
I was, excuse my language, really fucking good at sports. And I think it's because of the anger. And it was the only place that I could express my anger through like competitiveness. So, yeah, I was in a super hood school. And when I moved to the Y school, they weren't that focused on sports because they were more focused on like academics. But I went there and I like killed that shit. We have a sport in South Africa called netball, which is kind of like, but only females play it. It's kind of like basketball, but like you don't dribble. So it's just very fast, like throwing the ball and like you jump and pivot and then you shoot the ball in. It's in a net, but there's no like board. Like basketball has that board we don't have that. It's just the ring and the net. So it's a little bit harder in the sense because you have to be like really on aim and get it in. And that was like my favorite thing to do. I was a sport that I was most good at. I was also a track star. I was like into running, and I was captain of like the track and field team that we had at school. And I did every sport possible. I did swimming, I did diving, I did field hockey. Like that was the only thing that I really felt like I was good at, if you will. So I was very like aggressive, and I was also kind of violent. I used to fight a lot. So
No, bro. See, it matters. You gotta ask these questions to really understand someone. I remember when I met you, you were like, I'm very like, I don't know if you said it or I feel like you were talking about it that I'm like tomboyish, like that's like your natural style, like that's like you're sexy, that's like your innate type of vibe or swagger. And I was like, that's different. Because I've always felt like a tough girl, but I've never expressed it, I feel like, in a way that you were doing so I thought that was like really special about you.
thank
um
you.
how did that You're welcome. How did that affect you though when it came to like sister relationships, female friendships, and sisterhood?
I think because I grew up in the gang that I didn't really know how to relate to women for a very long time because I like even until today people are like, oh my god, you have such masculine energy. Not like just how I am, like how I approach situations and stuff like that. So it's it's been very hard even until now for me to have like a proper sisterhood because I act like a guy, or the way I respond to things is very masculine and sometimes very like East Coast. A lot of people are like, "Are you from the East Coast? Like you're so aggressive, or you're so forward." Or so I'm like, "No, I'm from South Africa." But I don't know. It's tough. I think like back home, a lot of girls wanted to be like tough, but they weren't because I had moved from like a very poor area to like a pretty well off area. So people there didn't need to be tough. Like they came from money. So this whole tough guy image was just an image. They weren't really tough guys. Right. So a lot of people were like fake. Like it was very LA in the way that people were like, oh, these are the popular pretty girls and the athletes and the this. So like growing up with like all that fake shit was kind of just like annoying. So I used to beat bitches a lot. Um, I'm not that person anymore. But going back to like the sisterhood, I find it tough because I find it hard to relate to women. Um, I don't know. Like those all my like my shortest relationships have always been with women, and my longer relationships are always with men, as long as they, don't get weird over time. But other than that, yeah, no, I'm not the best like female friend, I guess. I don't know.
That's okay, girl. I mean, we all struggle with things for different reasons. This month, I'm celebrating October to be Love Month. So I want to talk a little bit about that. So, it's Libra season right now. Um, Libra is ruled by planet Venus, which, is the love planet. So, what is your attitude on love and romantic relationships? So, taking that pivot from tomboy, aggressive to now a wife, uh, a queen now, American.
And I'm married an American, y'all. It's so different. Honestly, sometimes it's really tough because you need a good balance of like feminine and masculine in a relationship, for things to be balanced and for things to flow and for things to be healthy. So for a long time, I didn't have the best relationships. And I think I was like in this whole aspect of, I want to be saved, right? And because I had that mentality, I'd find the wrong type of man. And it was just literally toxic man after toxic man after toxic man, abusive, reflect like this guy's a reflection of that one. And it was just like this whole crazy cycle until my ex, I was like, I'm tired. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's something I'm doing that I'm attracting this energy. And I asked my best friend, and I was like, yo, what is wrong with me? He's like, Hadeez, you're a nigga. Like, ain't no way. Like, you act like a guy, so you get these like weak ass men. Like, what do you like? You get these feminine ass men that leech on you, that just don't know how to handle you and stuff like that, because you want to be like in power all the time. Okay, wake up call, cool. And I was like, okay, let's be feminine. What is it like being more feminine? And when I started kind of exploring that, and I told myself no more, like as soon as I see red flags, or I'm not going to settle and whatever. And I swear on everything that I love, 2 weeks after I like made that promise to myself, I met my husband. It was so soon and it was so sudden. And I was just like, okay, cool. Like, all right, this guy, okay, I'm with this guy every day. Like, there's something here, like this guy's kind of special, like whatever. And I had kind of recently had just come out of the relationship with my ex, but I was so long gone from him that it was just like, okay, whatever, he's done. And my husband is not a toxic man at all. So at times it was like, this is kind of boring. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it was healthy. And when you're so used to toxicity and chaos and it's not there no more, it kind of gets what you think is boring. Because when you're in a toxic relationship, them leaving and them not texting and them wondering where they are, as soon as they come back, or they hit you back after a couple of days, or they give you an attention after a couple of days, it's like a dopamine effect. You're like, finally, they hear, and you try hold them close and whatever. So with my husband, that was never a thing. Like, he never ever made me feel no type of way in front of no female, never disrespected me, never spoke to me in no type of way. We have a very, he's a songwriter. I'm like always busy. He's always busy. So sometimes it's like, shit, sometimes things can get boring because of the lack of time that we spent with each other. But the ability that we have to like reconvene and be like, okay, cool, this is our goals. This is what we're working towards. This is how I feel. This is how you feel. And, we recently had to have this conversation like, okay, we're both super busy, but we need to make this time for ourselves and be this balance. You have this role and I'll do this role. And for me, no matter how busy I am, every day I cook for my man. Right. And that kind of makes me be feminine in the sense of, yes, I can still be independent in my work area and not have to, depend on him for this and that or whatever. But where I come and step into my feminine energy is making sure that I cook for him, and that's our time together. So yeah, it's been tough because before, like, I was literally just a whole different person. And now being a wife, being settled, not having to be at every party, not having to be seen all the time, not needing to have the last word. It's like a little bit tough sometimes because I think we all kind of fall into our like toxic habits here and there. But he keeps me super, super accountable. And I'm just grateful because I don't know men like this existed. I really didn't.
No, girl. And it's the gentleman I met, right?
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay, perfect. And I just want to speak on that real quick. I just remember like when I met you two together, like I was in the back seat and y'all was in the front just vibing. We were going to this event and it was just like this like friendship. I really feel like it was like a bond. I feel like y'all had, and it was like you were so chill. And I'm not gonna lie to you, just to be real with you. Like when I'm around, ooh, it's loud. When I'm around like women and their men, like I try to like avoid the guy and like just focus on the girl, cause I'm like I don't want no one to feel
Right.
any type of way or anything. That's just how I am, right? And even when I was like intentionally doing that with you, just so like you and I can all just, feel good. I didn't feel nothing like no insecurity from you. I didn't feel like any type of control or like that's my man, that's my man. Like it was more like y'all was just like locked in. And I think just you now to be married to that person is like, damn, that's really dope. And us being, in the same age range is really inspiring to me to like hear after everything you've gone through that you're still wanting to be that way with somebody else. I don't know. I just think that's so beautiful and that's so strong of you.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, like make sure I cook because that's like that shows him that I love him every day, every time. You know, when he got that meal in front of him. Sweet. But all right, girls. So yeah, what has been the most difficult for Hades in becoming who she is today?
Woo! That's a tough question. I have a problem sometimes letting go. Even if I think that I've let go of certain situations, I realize that subconsciously I haven't let them go. And I'm a very firm believer of, you attract what you think. And when I go through certain phases where perhaps things in my life are not going according to my plan, or maybe they're a little bit tougher and there's these certain type of struggles, or maybe I'm not getting booked as much, or whatever the case may be, I take that as very personally. Like, oh, am I not good enough? Like, like kind of go through this like spiral, and that's old toxic habits, right? Mental habits. I think that mentality sometimes holds me back because I'm not kind to myself during times where I feel like I need to be. And because of that, because of the thoughts and the power that comes with those thoughts, it blocks me from my own blessings. And I realize that when I think like that, I don't get booked for a period of time until I get out of that. Or I don't get certain gigs until I get out of that. It's almost like a magic trick. You're like, oh shit, okay. Like, and I've tested it many times. I swear to God that it's a real thing. So I think even now, even though I'm getting better at that, I think the toughest thing is to realize that during times where things are tough and things are difficult and things are not going my way, that I need to be extra supportive and reassuring of myself and not beat myself down. You know what I'm saying? So that's I think that's the toughest thing. It's just like I'm my own enemy. And I think a lot of people can relate to something like that.
What would you tell the younger you with the wisdom you have today?
Calm the fuck down, bro. I think I'd also tell the younger me, like, limit your access. Like a lot of the times, like I didn't want to be like alone. So I kind of just let friends or relationships like have too much access to me too quickly. I think I tell myself, like calm down, like take a step back. Like not everyone is deserving of your energy and your time. And another thing I tell myself is to have a little bit more. Like I always had that grind in me, but my focus wasn't always like tunnel vision. And I think that was also because of the things that I was going through that played a very big part in my life. So it wasn't like complete tunnel vision. It was like, oh, today I'm tunnel vision and tomorrow I'm so sad. And, I wish I had I would tell myself to carry on pushing through, because I'm in this moment right now where I'm not depressed. I didn't think that I'd ever feel that way in my life, ever. So I wish I'd tell myself, like, things are possible and you have the power to change who you are in this moment to be a better version of yourself tomorrow and for the future and so forth.
You're gonna have to be a motivational speaker, girl.
I
Yeah,
always wanted to be one.
see it in the cards for you. I see it happening. I really do. I really do. Um, you shouldn't be stingy with your story.
I'm trying to find the right time, like, how do I put this in the right place so that it's impactful? But yeah, you've given me a lot of inspiration here. Like, this is the first time I've actually really told my story on like a platform.
Definitely, when you get this, I want you to clip it up. I'll clip it up for you and do what you will with it, even just to like piece it up. Like I have something to share that's of value to many people globally, girl. Not even in America. You can go back anywhere with this. It's the truth. It's the story. It's real life. My final question for you is, what do you hope to see more of in the world?
Girl. Well, there's this current situation that's going on in Gaza, right? And people always ask me, like, whose side are you on? Are you pro-Palestine? Are you pro-Israel? And I'm like, I'm not. I am anti-terrorism. I'm anti-war. What I would love to see more in this world is peace and unconditional love. Because at the end of the day, I think we always forget that we're dealing with people. We all gonna die at one point. We all bleed the same, regardless of religion, race, whatever the case may be. So I wish that people would just be a little bit more understanding and look at each other like a neighbor, regardless of, external factors. I think there's a lot of places in the world that don't get coverage, a lot of wars, civil wars that are happening, especially in and around Africa. And I pray for a better world, because if this is a world that I'm going to bring my children in, I need some sort of like peace and some more love, for me to be comfortable bringing a child into this world. Otherwise, I don't think I will.